Hey, Rainbow here, and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be a little more of a personal day for me. So you're curious, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's get started. Well, today's a very special day for me, but before I get to why today is a very special day today, Rembo, R-E-M-B-O. It's actually a combination, and it's a nickname that I was given when I was in the Marines. My last name is actually Rimas, R-E-M-A-S. The correct Lithuanian spelling is R-I-M-A-S. So yes, I am Polish and Lithuanian on my father's side, and on my mother's side, that's where the Italian comes from. So I'm a mixture of Italian, Polish, and Lithuanian. The last name, of course, is Lithuanian. Rambo was out, and it was a big, movie series that came out when I was in the Marines. And when I was younger, I looked a little different. So the guys somehow combined the two and started calling me Rembo, similar, based on the Rambo. But while I'm on the subject of being in the Marines, it was October 9th, today, 1986, which is really hard to believe that I think that's like 47 years ago, that I survived a really bad helicopter crash. And I was on the USS Guam. I spent 7 months in the Mediterranean in the Marines, and my job was working on the electronic systems of helicopters, and I had a secondary duty as aircrew. So yeah, so basically what happened, and the reason why I'm going to tell you this is because it kind of shapes the way you think about things. So we were doing a training exercise off the coast of Turkey, on the Asian side of Turkey. It's kind of split between, part of it's up in Europe there through the Straits. But anyway, so we're off the coast of Turkey. We took off somewhere around 5 a.m. in the morning, pitch black, circled with a whole bunch of others. I had 15 Marines on board with the crew of 4. So we had a pilot, co-pilot, and 2 basically crew chiefs on a CH-46, the double prop, we call them frogs. And we had 15 Marines that we were carrying to go into a training mission. We're all getting together, lining up, and then we come down and we land, lower the ramp, and let them out. So my job that day was to go to the back of the aircraft for when we landed, in addition to other duties, and stand against the wall and with the controls, hydraulic controls, lower the ramp so that all the grunts could run off, raise it back up, give the signal, and then take off and get out of there. Well, very dark out, and at that time we were not allowed to wear night vision goggles whenever we were just doing training with passengers on board, PACs, we call them PACs. That's the way it was back then. We could train by ourselves with night vision goggles, but we were not allowed to wear night vision goggles when we had passengers on board for a training mission. Unless, of course, it was, actual combat situation. So we took off, we lined up with a whole bunch of others, and as we're coming down to land, I started walking to the back of the aircraft. And what happened was these guys had all their M16s lined up ready to go. They had what's called a Dragon. Some of the guys had it like this. And as I was going, my ICS cord, right, intercom system cord, that connected my helmet, it was a really long one that you have, okay? As I was going to the back, I got pulled back because my cord got all hung up and twisted up with some of their gear. So I couldn't make it. And I tried to untangle it, but we were running out of time. So I called to the front and I said, "Sir, I can't get to the back. You're going to have to lower the ramp from the cockpit." And in between the pilot and co-pilot on the console is another lever that's a backup that they can use to lower and raise the ramp. They're like, "Not a problem." So then I went from where I was supposed to be, which was directly underneath the two aft engines and transmission on that, because don't forget, front and back, because those blades synchronize, right? So I walked back up to the front, and there wasn't a seat for me, because I never had a seat. I always had what's called a gunner's belt, where you pull around your chest and you just clip on so that you can move around and hang outside the aircraft if you need to while you're shooting the 50 cals or M60 or GAU 2B. For those of you that know what a GAU 2B is, that's 4,000 rounds a minute. Anyway, so I go to the front, and it was just a big metal box to sit on and nothing else. So I'm like, I'll just sit on the box. So I sit on the box, and the seats were folded up like this, up against the bulkhead, against the wall, so that the big metal box could go in and get strapped down. Well, I was 21 years old, cocky, never, just had a gunner's belt. So what I did is, as I sat down, I looked, and I saw a belt hanging, and then I looked on this side, and I saw another belt, and I just pulled them out, and I put the belt on, and I never done that before. So after I did that, what happened is we were coming down, and right before we land, they turn on the belly light, which just illuminates everything. Well, this was all sand and straw. So I tell the pilot, I'm looking out the left side, and I said, not clear left. He goes, what do you got? Says we're going to land in a ditch, because we're going to land in a ditch, kind of a ditch where they would plow things out. So we would have landed all cockeyed like this. So he started skipping and taking the aircraft to the right in order to land. And as he was skipping to the right and forward, I looked between, out front, you can see, and I saw sparks, and we started to shake. And then I realized one of the pilots yelled, tree, tree, tree. Well, we hit a tree. We hit an olive tree in Turkey trying to land. Once we hit the tree, the pilot said, pull back. They pulled collective, which brings the aircraft up. And when he pulled collective, because the blades were just smashed to smithereens, we got out of sync. And the section that I was in, it just torqued it and just snapped it in half. And the section I was in, we fell down. And now my back was the ceiling, and I was hanging by my belt that I had never put on before. And the other half of the aircraft, because it just completely broken in half, came straight down, because there's a lot of weight on the back of that. You have the ramp, you have the two engines and the aft transmission. So right where I was supposed to be standing, that all came down and collapsed onto the ramp area. So thank God I wasn't there, right? What ended up happening was I'm hanging, and I'm looking down, and I could see my partner is a guy from New Jersey, last name begins with a K, and he's a ski, and he's looking up at me, and it's just, the sun is just starting to peak up, and I have this whole side of an aircraft that's missing, and we're on our side, and he's like, help me. So it was hard to unbuckle when you have all that weight. So I unbuckled, and I fell right on top of him, but what else was I going to do? And a bunch of equipment had fallen on top of him. I actually thought that he flipped outside the aircraft and it landed on him the way he was asking for help. But I just cleared some ammo boxes out of the way and ammo cans and helped get him up. And then I ran out, and there was just nothing but like wires and all kind of crap hanging from here. And as I run out, I hear one of the one of the Marine Corps sergeants out there going, I don't have all my men, and I just saw people laying all over the place. And I ran to another aircraft, and they were obviously, they landed, and they had the steps down. Their crew chief was standing just looking, and I ran over there, and I was like, we crashed. And he gets his flashlight. I'm like, check me out. And unfortunately, the color of hydraulic fluid in the military aircraft is red. So I had this red all over me from the fluid, and he's got freaked out. So I ran inside to the pilot and co-pilot, and I said, we crashed. And then we started grabbing people who were injured and started putting them on aircraft, and then we came back. Here's the good news. No one was killed. Surprisingly, with 19 souls on board, no one was killed in that crash. And it was that moment afterwards and throughout my life that I reflected back on that moment of being able to walk away from something like that, that I realized I just wanted to live my life. I just wanted to enjoy life to the fullest, because that moment when we started to shake until it all ended, it was like an instant. And you have no control over those situations. You have zero control over those situations. And I was along for the ride. I was extremely fortunate. I was fortunate that fate kept me from going to the back of the aircraft. Very, very thankful for that. And I was also very fortunate that I put a seatbelt on that I never wore. I never wore that. So very fortunate. So everything was aligned for me to experience that. I ended up with a cut on my dupa, on my butt, my ass, culo, and a sore back and shoulder from getting kind of banged around a little bit as we, came down. So that's who I am, and that's why, motorcycles have always been a thrill. They've been exciting. They've been a big part of my life since I was 8 years old and got my very first motorcycle, a Benelli 60cc. And motorcycles are exciting, but we have to be safe and live within our skill level, but always trying to improve. But anyway, I just thought I would tell you a little bit about who I am and my experience, and why October 9th is a day that I celebrate. All right, this is Reembo. Please like, please subscribe. I thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.